I worry a lot about properly delegating time in my 20s to projects, to work, to anything, um, in a way that I'm not wasting my time. Because, in a way, your 20s are very valuable because they are the time in which you can do a lot of things and you are more free and you are more fluid in the kind of skills you can pick up and the kind of things that you can do with your time. And so what happens to me sometimes is that I get very much caught up in the time frames of life. Like I'm like, oh my God, I have X amount of time until I turn this age, and then I should have these things done by that time, or I should be working on something like that. Or, you understand that it's whatever have you that you can acquire anxiety about when it has um, like goal setting, and I want to be this kind of person when I get to this age. Uh, the problem I encounter when I really try to quantify time like this, and you know, you both have more and less time in your life than you think. You have more time than you think, in as far as, well, a year is actually pretty long. Like, if you really use it right and you really, you know, savor the moments of your journey, of your experiences, you will realize that whilst a year does go by in a relative sense quickly, you will have you can look back on a year and realize how many things you didn't have before that you do have now. Um, and in the way that it is quick is that some major goals, take years. And not just years, but true effort of time put into those things. Breakthroughs occur after a certain amount of time has been dumped into a project. You know, things that you say, well, I'll be done with this in a couple months, will not be done in a couple months, and it will take a lot longer. Um, and in that way, you really do want to just be cognizant of how you spend your time, because if you're going to start something like a major project, like, I can't really give you an example. School's a good example. You think it's going to take 4 years, it might take 5 years, 6 years, depending on what you're going to jump into. You say you're going to start up a business, and then you realize there's overhead costs and all this other stuff, and the problem of the goal um, unravels itself as you attempt to complete the goal, and then you realize how much more time you actually have to put into the project or goal or whatever have you before you actually reach the completion point you thought you'd get to within a different period of time. But once you've done that unraveling, you now have a good what's the right word? You have a good quantification of the actual steps that is required to be taken for you to truly complete the goal within, like, a reality space. Because when you imagine things, um, they're not actual. They are just simulations of the potential amount of work or time or what have you that it will take for you to actually complete the thing. And then when you actually complete an approximation of the thing, because you can never one for one something out of your brain into the real world most of the time, um, you you can only get like a light approximation of the exact thing that you thought you'd get. Like, the result is never going to be like 100% what you were thinking of, but the goal really is to maintain functional qualities about the goal that you were initially trying to get at. So it doesn't really matter if the aesthetic is off, if you're like trying to plan a party or something. It matters more if you have gotten the piece qualities correct. Like, oh, well, we did experience this part of the party and we did use this entertainment thing. I'm being broad so I don't have to, like, hone in on something I'm specifically talking about. I'm speaking general. My goals in my life, I've just been thinking about this because I think I am just trying to communicate a philosophy of productivity that makes sense and doesn't overclock yourself. I think lots of people worry about being the best, or being or not wasting time, or failure is a major fear for a lot of people. I know I have a fear of failure, and I want to know two things. Something stuck in my mouth. Two things. One, you the world will never move the way you think it will in your brain. It will always take paths, and again, like I was just saying, it'll never look exactly as you think it will. So you need the anxiety of like not you need the anxiety of thinking that you're not going to make it to a goal to keep yourself moving, or you need the anxiety of desire for completion, or else you will believe. And I believe that when I see people in my generation who are like, well, their 20s are just to be used for however that, like, whatever they want. It's all downtime. Your teens were downtime if you really think about it. For most people, they didn't spend their teens doing anything significant. But then when people in their teenage years were in school a lot, they kind of feel like they didn't get like a good uh, like time of leisure almost. They want to then spend their 20s in a leisure space. They want to spend their time playing video games. This is not wrong. It's not wrong to do this. You're entitled to do this. I think though you should. It's if you want something significant and like really exceptional by the time that you're like older, it's really about playing the game of life on a different level and how soon you want to enter that scope. Being a community leader or being someone who has impact in the world, right? It's about the choice in which you want to gain that ability. If you really just kind of shirk that for a while, you will be like an inert character in the world, like cosmic, not cosmic, but in like a communal sense. You will not really be involved with anything, but you will obtain over time a feeling of lack, like you haven't had something significant tying you to the physical reality um, of existence, of the world outside of your video games or television, or your small group of friends who you just do dumb stuff with. um, you you will desire to enter the world of significant possibility. Like you will, I said that weird. You'll enter a space where you want to give back, and if you haven't spent time giving back or learning how to give back in your 20s, in your 30s, you'll feel like a loser potentially. I can't speak for everyone. I just know that's something I've seen frequently with 30-year-old, 40-year-olds who haven't really done much. They're like, I don't know where the time went. I would like to be involved. I feel like I've been held back, or I've held myself back, or I'm a late bloomer now. So again, that's not something that I'm to some degree projecting. Not everyone's going to feel like that, but to some degree, everyone is. I feel like there is a high likelihood that a lot of people will have that urge, or that realization at some point when they hit older age, that they will realize they have no solid foundational connection to something in the community, something that makes them feel like they can make a greater impact. And so I feel like it's proper for you to have some degree of anxiety about moving yourself forward and being a player on the world stage in your 20s, to prepare yourself, to give yourself the skills and the knowledge. You're really laying groundwork in your 20s for your 30s and 40s, because again, you can gain a lot of skills, you can learn a lot of things in your 20s, and you can be very fluid with your pursuits, because your brain still is fluid and building itself, and you can acquire new skills like that. Once, but so that was one half of what I was trying to make a point about. The second half was that um, anxiety is a motivator until it becomes like a holder in place, because it it tears you down. It makes you feel like you've not done enough. It makes you not want to choose or make decisions about things because you're so afraid of making uh, mistakes. You're so anxious about making mistakes, and you make less decisions. You learn less. You move yourself out into the world even less if you're so anxious about failure, about wasting your time, about wasting your 20s, um, that you actually end up doing the same thing that the people who are spending their time in their 20s being leisurely are doing, except now you hate yourself while doing it. I think it is it is acceptable for you to calm down and aspire for a better version of yourself, whilst also not stressing yourself out too much about it. If you really see the way that people achieve a different level of like skill, or like they gain more in the world, there's something almost magical to it. Um, it's not like a straight up like pragmatic one for one goal where if you work really hard at something, then you get the exact outcome that you want. The way it more works is that you put out your best intentions, you're honest about how you want something to go, or the core components of how you want something to go. You put that out into the universe. You work hard genuinely, and you are not overly stressed about it. You just breathe, and you push forward with acquiring a skill, going for some kind of goal, but it's like an approximate goal where that can shift around and you're fine with where it takes you. And then at the same time, you let yourself be relaxed about it. And almost in that moment where you are both working hard and putting out a genuine effort and relaxed about where you're going, but you're still working hard, the world then kind of unfolds for you and gives you some goal, or I mean, gives you some thing like it promotes some opportunity for you that then actually approximates your goal even closer to then what you were asking for before when you were trying to work really hard and you weren't getting the goal. Um, it gives it to you almost because you have given up the desire for the world to be exactly as you wish it to be. And that's like the merging of two ideas I was trying to get at with this rant. So yeah.